Quincy Jones, The Cure, Five for Fighting. What do all these artists have in common? They've all had prominent songs with the word 100, 100 somewhere in the title. 100 Ways by Quincy Jones with James Ingram. 100 Years by The Cure. 100 Years by Five for Fighting. Yeah, well, happy episode 100 here. So, thanks for joining me. I can't believe I'm at 100. And after this, I'm probably going to just stop keeping track because it's been that many already. So, I guess I will just keep doing these as much as possible. I seem to have been doing okay keeping up with it, even though it does take some time and effort getting everything put together. And it's probably hours that's keeping me from doing the lawn work that I need to do. But if it keeps you guys informed, thanks for joining me. So, let me get to new releases. This is for Friday, September 23rd, 2022. Let's just hope the world is not annihilated in a nuclear holocaustic disaster or something. Okay. Oh, way to be optimistic today. All right. First up, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to show you a couple of the box set-y things first. First thing here is the new Joni Mitchell box set. The Asylum Years, 1972 to 75. It's a really pretty box. You can see which albums are here. We've got For the Roses, Court and Spark, Miles of Isles, and Hissing of Summer Lawns. Really beautiful, beautiful artwork. Sorry about the glare. Yeah, it's one of her most prominent eras, I think. Well, Court and Spark, actually, pretty huge hit. The others maybe less so. Hissing of Summer Lawns, probably my favorite in here. She's one of those artists that you hear her stuff and you think now, God, I can't believe she was doing that before the age of auto-tune. This is the last track, Shadows and Light on Hissing of Summer Lawns. Unbelievable, the harmonies. Anyway. Yeah, and Miles of Isles is a pretty great live record, so you get a lot more sort of things from Blue and stuff like that. That was kind of that period, so. Alright, that's out today. There's also a CD box for that. The other thing that's really cool of note is box set-wise, Stone Temple Pilots Core. This is a 4 LP box set featuring bonus and live tracks done by Run Out Groove, great label. Affiliated with Rhino. You can see there's two kind of gatefolds in here. There's track listings, so you get the album, demos, other bonus material, Live 93, live show. That's very cool. So I think this is mostly the stuff that was in they'd released a vinyl box with 3 CDs in it before Rhino had, and there was such demand for putting it on vinyl, so runs about 100. So it's not cheap, but anyway. What is cheap anymore, right? Big reissue this week. I'm just going to hold this for a minute. Maybe it'll be the screen grab. Alice in Chains Dirt. Yeah, it's back, people. It's back. And this is not the the music on vinyl that was out a couple years ago. This is an American Columbia Sony Legacy reissue. There is a box set apparently that was available online that's already sold out, and you could only buy it online. But this features Them Bones, Down in a Hole, Rooster, Angry Chair, and Wood. This is probably my favorite album of theirs, and maybe, I don't know, I guess you could make a case for it being their best. But anyway, also features the song Godsmack. So, back on shelves. Get them while you can, because I think there's a fair amount of demand for that, and I don't know, when Christmas rolls around, are we going to have more of those on the shelf? Hard to say. A couple RSD Essentials this week. This series is really great where they've been doing like colored pressings of like kind of albums of the past that are sort of somehow iconic. And MGMT's Oracular Spectacular gets a pink vinyl pressing. This album, people who know it talk about it a lot, and it was very popular there. Put them on the map, even though apparently, some of the band that are in the band now did not play on this record, but it kind of, in a way, sort of kicked off that Tame Impala sort of vibe era of things. Very beachy, very kind of summery indie, but still groovy, that kind of stuff. It was a great album. Featured the song Kids and Electric Feel. Those were two really kind of big radio hits. The other RSD Essential this week, and I know people will be like, oh my god, that's back on the shelf, is Death Grips, The Powers That Be. And this is on an exclusive red colored vinyl, RSD Essentials limited edition. I don't know how many of these we're going to have. I mean, we've got a few now. I don't think they're going to be around for too long, but it's one of the albums from Death Grips that's a little bit more difficult to get. For a while there, we couldn't even get the first album, and that's back also as an RSD Essential. Still have a few of those left. Okay, new release, like new albums. King Gizzard's Omnium Gatherum. This record actually started streaming back in May, I think, or June. And we finally get it might even have been April. We finally get the vinyl release of this. Of course, they have already since announced 3 more studio albums on the way in the next few weeks. But I think they solved the problem with these bags. KG and LW and Butterfly 3000 came in these kind of cardboard bags where the record sort of pulls out. It looks nice and shiny. And they got rid of the top where it sort of kind of is frayed and cut. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, I don't like this bag. This is much better because the cardboard is stiffer and it's cut straight across, so it doesn't have that sort of issue. Feels nicer. And, I forgot to mention, it's on Lucky Rainbow wax. So give that a look. King Gizzard fans it's a big thing because I think it's their first, was the first studio album this year. I say that like, some people like Adele goes 6, 7, 8 years without an album, and King Gizzard can do 4 of them in 1 year. So go figure. Another one that I think will kind of appeal to those people is this new View Farcature record with Khruangbin. Khruangbin have really taken off as a kind of indie rock, talented sort of groovy based band from Texas. Pictures on the back here. And so they've been out playing a lot of shows. This is an album that View Farcature wanted to do featuring his father, Ollie Farcature's music. And so they did a collaboration. So that's pretty cool. That kind of came out of nowhere. For us anyway. But I'm kind of like seeing the track listing here. It's, roughly like a 35-40 minute album, so it's an actual album. I know Khruangbin fans will be interested in that. Another sort of local guy that I have a lot of customers that love is Alex G. Sometimes goes by Sandy Alex G, but this case he's back to Alex G. This album is called God Save the Animals. And he's from Philly. This is an indie exclusive clear vinyl. I should have said this one was a limited edition jade color vinyl. This actually is getting excellent reviews already. He's kind of a cool indie rock guy, so go check him out. Joan Jett, Change Up. This is her first acoustic album. And 20 newly recorded acoustic tracks, stripped down, reimagined, and ferociously Joan Jett. Features Bad Reputation, I Love Rock and Roll, Crimson and Clover, Cherry Bomb, etc. Cool. Got to give Joan her props. She's been at it for a long time. It's kind of an interesting release. The Editors, EBM. This is their new record. EBM sort of stands for electronic body music or electric body music, but also BM. They were saying something I was reading. Editors and then BM Blank Mass. They have one new member in the band. He was the artist. Blank Mass was the name he went by, and they're saying it kind of makes. I haven't heard this yet. Makes them a little more electronic-y sounding than they were kind of in the Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys arena, sort of. So if those are bands that you're interested in, you might want to check out the new direction for Editors. FKA Twigs, Capri Songs on vinyl. She's awesome. This album has been sort of handled very strangely in its promotion. It was kind of promoted as a mixtape rather than one of her typical records, because like if you heard Magdalene or the first one, they were a little more sort of indie and experimental in a Bjorky way, and this was a little more like commercial. And I went to check this online, and it looks like the record may already be out of print. So I don't know if that means it was deleted as soon as they ran out. But if you want that, I wouldn't wait on it. And again, I don't have too many of them. New Beth Orton, Weather Alive. And it's been, 6 or 7 years since Beth's Kid Sticks came out. I think that was a rather polarizing type of album. It was sort of experimental. And this is also experimental, but this is getting her some of the best reviews of her career. It's on limited red vinyl. She's working a lot with Tom Skinner, who was the drummer from, what was the band that just broke up? I'm trying to remember. But he's in The Smile with Tom York and Johnny Greenwood. So if you like the Smile album, he's a musical contributor here on drums. But it's they're saying sort of more like if you like late period talk, sort of that kind of instrumentation, a little more freeform and jazzy. She's kind of, I think she's sort of done her whole like Ryan Adams period where she worked with him and such, and is kind of wanting to move on from that and become a little different kind of artist, embrace the sort of more dreamy, trippy kind of aspects that she had when she first started. Okay, new album from the Wonder Years. This is called The Hum Goes On Forever, and they're sort of a indie punk pop sort of band. They've been around for a while now. A couple of their albums have been pretty big sellers and very sort of like sought after, at least for certain periods of time. This one is a Ferris wheel variant. I don't know if there's a blue one, but I don't know if that's this. It says made in the Czech Republic too, which is interesting that Hopeless is having things done at probably what's Jeezy. For those of you who know record manufacturing lingo. All right, Edgar Winter and Brother Johnny. This is his tribute album. That's kind of a cool lenticular cover. This is not cheap, though, I'm telling you right now. About $60 for a 2 LP set. You're paying for the cover, I think. But, this was a cool record that came out earlier this year. Features a lot of guest appearances from Joe Bonamassa, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Keb Mo, Billy Gibbons, Derek Trucks, Joe Walsh, Michael McDonald, Ringo Starr. Lots of big names. Taylor Hawkins. Yeah. Anyway, interesting tribute record. In jazz, this week there's a couple kind of different things. The Comet is coming. Their new album. This is called, I still got a really crazy name. Hyperdimensional Expansion Beam. Hyperdimensional Expansion Beam. Um, yeah, so kind of like more experimental sort of jazz. Lots of I see lots of like synth stuff listed on the back. Lots of Roland Jupiter 8s and stuff like that, Yamahas, and a tenor saxophone from Shabaka, who I think he may also have a record out here soon, or I saw his name on a new release. Also, the new Micaiah McCraven, and this is called In These Times. I guess I'm covering up his name there. This is actually on XL and Nonesuch, which is kind of interesting labels. Um, it's kind of billed as sort of quasi orchestral. It says time refined songbook of polytemporal compositions collapsing past, present, and future into bold and manifold arrangements of orchestral progressive music. All right, so I don't know, maybe if you're into like floating points or something like that, that might be something to check out. Chick Corea, the Montreux years, like the cover art of this. The finest performances from the 7 legendary concerts, featuring rare and previous unreleased material from Claude Knob's private collection, remastered in superlative audio. Doesn't tell you much. Deluxe 180 gram. Some of it is like Chick Corea electric band, acoustic band, sort of a mix of things. But if you're a Chick fan, and then another jazz release, Charles Lloyd's Trios. And this features Gerald Clayton and Anthony Wilson, who play piano and guitar. So piano, guitar, flute, sort of more conventional in that sense, but Charles Lloyd is not really a conventional artist, I don't think. But his last Trios record had Bill Frisell on it. I think we still have that. So anyway, check out Charles Lloyd. Shows that jazz is alive and well. In reissues, Motorhead, Iron Fist. This is a really cool black. It says black and white, but it sort of looks like blue and black swirl. Um, I'm sorry, it does say black and blue on the label. I think I read black and white somewhere else. But anyway, cool colored vinyl for Iron Fist. Let's see. Queen, Night at the Opera, Half Speed Master Edition. Interestingly, this has not been like marketed big time the way that like Roxy Music's Avalon and stuff like that. You people are sort of on both sides of the fence as far as half speed mastering goes. So, will we ever really know? Only your ears will tell you, which you like better. The Bangles, all over the place. I'm sorry, all over the place. This is Different Light. All Over the Place was the previous one. This was their big American album, the biggest one. Limited 4,000 numbered copies on pink and purple marbled vinyl. Features Walk Like an Egyptian, Manic Monday, Walking Down Your Street, and If She Knew What She Wants. Super popular album. Also has their cover of September Girls. Big Star song, Alex Chilton. Can't remember. The Kinks, a couple of reissues. Everybody's in Showbiz, and this is a double vinyl. No, that's remastered from the original source, black vinyl. I think you can find that on shelves sometimes in sort of used circles. So I don't know how hard it is to find, but if you want good, clean, new copies, also the Kinks' Muswell Hillbillies. A new pressing of that. Original gatefold sleeve. Includes 20th Century Man. Remastered from the original audio source. I don't know what to tell you. This album is kind of a favorite of mine in a weird... People be like, really? I love this album. Marina and the Diamonds, Electra Heart. And this is the Platinum Blonde edition. So this album came out, it's the 10-year anniversary. I actually saw her live on this tour at a small theater here in the U.S. And I thought she put on a great show, very talented. She was kind of, or is kind of, she's still recording, sort of an indie pop artist. and always has very like witty sort of like observational lyrics. Some of them are kind of like America is not all it's cracked up to be and stuff like that, coming from a British woman with Greek ancestry. um, is sort of like, interesting observations, but a lot of things too about like what being a woman means for young women today and all. um, she was originally sort of like kind of edgy-ish, not super edgy, but indie artist. And then this album in particular was the one that she was kind of taking like, what if I put myself in the character of someone like a Britney Spears and tried to kind of, play the part of somebody who is this um, sort of embraced in a sort of vapid culture kind of way, pop culture. And it's such a great pop record. And unfortunately, there was a little backlash at the time because some of the fans who heard it, they couldn't tell if she was actually playing a part or actually becoming this Electra Heart character. So that's how good it was. And she kind of backed off of that and became a little more serious over time, and the music got a little bit less interesting for my taste anyway. Her last album came out last year, which was called Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land, and that was actually a pretty good record. Sort of a kind of stripping big things back to what she was originally. But it's a shame that she didn't get to do more with Electra Heart, and that more people, at least in the U.S., didn't really get to catch on to it or whatever. This version is interesting because they removed 3 or 4 songs from the previous pressing on vinyl and added 3 or 4 songs. It was one of those albums that had like 20 interchangeable songs depending on which version you got, and they left a couple off vinyl last time, and this time they put the other ones on and took those off. So it's missing Radioactive, which was one of my favorite pop songs from that. So, but if you're a completist, you're going to want them both. All right, enough about Marina. Lightning Hopkins, Lightning in New York. This is on the Candid record label. They're doing more of these reissues, remastered by Bernie Grunman from the original master tapes. I mean, you cannot knock Bernie's talent and ability to produce good sounding records. Whoa, Aqua, Aquarium, Barbie Girl, on vinyl. Get your Barbie Girl now. I mean, you can laugh about this all you want, but this is a great pop record, and it is like a sort of turn of the century album. It was like, what, 99? The original date's not on here, but Happy Boys and Girls, Good Morning Sunshine, Dr. Jones, I don't know about that. Anyway, but yeah, 3 minutes of Barbie Girl heaven. All right, and then Ani DeFranco, Living in Clip. This actually came out maybe 2 months ago, and it was on a limited red vinyl and ran out, and now we've got limited Natural Blue Swirl triple vinyl of that, probably one of her most popular records, her live record. I think it's live, right? Yeah. Okay. I don't think I really had much. Oh, CDs. I was going to show this in particular, which is another Grateful Dead release. This is Grateful Dead, Madison Square Garden. This is 1981. So interesting era, different kind of cover art too. Yeah. So if you're into the Dead, oh, let's see. And so I wanted to mention really quick at the end here. Had the privilege to go see, or pleasure to go see the new David Bowie documentary Moon Age Daydream that Brett Morgan put together at an IMAX theater the other night, and was just blown away. If you know me, you know I'm a huge Bowie fan. Earthling, great 90s album that was just reissued. Outside is another, probably one of my favorites. Outside is interesting because Bowie painted this cover art himself. It's very sort of expressionist and abstract, and it's a bit of a self-portrait. And with this album, he was sort of investigating a serial killing as in a character, and it was supposed to be a trilogy, which is why it was number one, and he never followed it up. But Brian Eno worked a fair amount on this record. Mike Garson, his longtime pianist from like Aladdin's Sane days, came back and played on that. It's really, I don't know. I think his 90s material gets a little short shrift because it's not super like, oh, it's not as catchy, or those aren't the hits I remember from my childhood. But he really did push himself artistically in the 90s once he sort of got his foot back in it. And that was not really touched on much in the film, although I will say, it focused a great deal on the first 10 years of his career, starting, well, I say first 10 years. I should say first 10 years after his big popularity explosion. So it really starts with the Ziggy Stardust era and moves on from there. You don't really get mention of Hunky Dory or Man Who Sold the World, but you do get performances of some of those songs a little bit throughout. It's not a chronological album movie in the sense that it doesn't go like, then this happened, then this happened, then this album came out, da 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 da. It's much more sort of like progressive about his art and career, his what drove him artistically. And so from that standpoint, it was fascinating. And the reason I show this is there's a whole section dedicated to some paintings that I don't know if they'd ever been seen before by regular folk, but it was stuff he was painting during the Berlin era. And they were mostly people who had come from East Berlin and were in the West and were missing their families. And that was sort of like, those were all the portraits that he was painting. It was very like Edvard Munch. From a very layman's, I mean, I'm not an art critic or anything like that, but very expressionist kind of work, and fascinating stuff. And interesting, he said, he considered himself a songwriter and not a painter, and that's why he didn't really put that stuff out there more often. But he really found a lot of his own trajectory of his career through that kind of art and experimentation, traveling. So anyway, go see it because it is a overload sense feast for the eyes, ears, senses. It's almost too much in an IMAX. You kind of get the sense of like all the lights and flashing and the vertigo and stuff like that, because it really is elevated above regular documentary in the sense that Bowie was sort of a larger than life figure, and they're trying to kind of give him that sort of treatment by making it feel more like you're at a rock concert or something. The performances are fantastic. There are some that I'd never seen before, and it just kind of shows his breadth of talent a little bit. So, and it's hard to not watch it and get emotional. There are some things that get left out. Young Americans does not get a mention really, and or at all. His first wife does not get a mention. But they're trying to tell sort of an overall story, and we're in an era too where a lot of this stuff has to be okayed by the estate and the family. So some of those things are not, they did not want to, probably not want to have in the movie, or said like, that's not really necessary to. There's no mention of his children really, which became, I think that especially his daughter here in the last 20 years, that became a big thing for him, being more of a homebody. But well, I say 20 years, he's been gone for 6. So anyway, I do recommend to go seeing it. I know there's some naysayers that are like, oh, well, we don't get enough information. You kind of do have to know. I wouldn't say a ton about him, but it helps to know a fair amount of like his career path, I suppose, to kind of absorb it all. But it's a good education for teenagers even who are interested in Bowie, or sort of want to know what a real sort of like artist who works in all sorts of different medium. He's not limited to just painting or just recording or whatever. So all right, that's probably enough for today. So thank you very much for joining me. And I will start doing some more editorial things at different times, I promise. I'll probably talk about some of my favorite albums and things like that as they come out. I spent a fair amount of time today on Marina and Bowie. So, anyway, I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. And, man, there's a lot of records out there. And they just keep coming every week. A new Tom Petty box set just announced live at the Fillmore 97. I think we're going to be, well, I'm pretty sure we're going to have that too. So, all right. Christmas is coming. Save your pennies. Thanks. No, don't save your pennies. We need your, we need your pennies now. I mean, that's the other thing. Real quick, if we don't sell stuff now, we're not going to be able to afford to bring in the stuff for Christmas. So, if you see something that you want, and by the way, I will say one more time, things are rather limited. So if you don't see it now, you might not see it later. And that is happening more and more all the time. There are things that I get that I go back to order and I can't get them again. Just like that Twigs today, FKA Twigs. But, even more prominent things. So, all right, enough. Enough. Take care. Thanks for joining me for 100 episodes. You guys rock. Peace.